Hello, and welcome to Get Real. Get Real is our opportunity for high school students to explore university and career options with our own ISKL alumni working or studying around the world. It's a chance to find out more about university and work life and to ask important questions in a small group environment. Today, we have Megan Lim with us to share her university experience. She has completed her first year studying law at the University of Bristol. She attended ISKL from grade 5 until she graduated in 2021. She completed the full IB Diploma. Megan is Malaysian, but she spent her early childhood living abroad. Before coming to ISKL, she lived in Beijing and Hamburg, Germany. But despite her international profile, Megan feels firmly grounded in being Malaysian and calling Malaysian home. That being said, she doesn't underestimate how studying in an international school prepared her to continue her studies overseas. So I will go ahead and turn the mic over to Megan, who will be introducing us to her experience studying law in the UK. Welcome, Megan.
Thank you. Hi everyone. I hope you're all doing good, and I know it's lunchtime, so I hope you all have food with you. But so basically today I'm gonna do a really brief outline and introduction into studying law in the UK, or more specifically at the University of Bristol, which is where I'm at. And I've also gotten a list of questions that you guys have pre-submitted, so I'm gonna try and answer those at the end as well. So basically what I'm gonna do is run through some quick introductions and then talk about transitioning to university life, and then go through general life in the UK, plus a bit of advice, which I'm not sure I'm technically qualified to give, but I'm gonna give it anyway. So first, quickly just about me. So I currently am at the University of Bristol. So Bristol is located west of London, but it's still in the south. It's on the same line if you look at a map. And we're very close to Wales. And it's about an hour and 40-minute direct train straight from London to Bristol. So that makes it very convenient. My current degree is an honors law, qualifying law degree. In terms of societies, I'm in, I think, two societies that relate to law at the university, and then 3 societies that focus more on culture. I'm part of the Malaysian Cultural Society, and there's a couple more that I'm a part of, which helps with the feeling of creating a home environment. In terms of career, I'll get into this later, but I'm looking to become a solicitor, and I'm hoping to qualify in the UK. And then why Bristol? I chose Bristol because I was influenced by a YouTuber who went to the university and is now, or has qualified with one of the top law firms in London. So I kind of wanted to be like her. And then also upon further research, I've discovered how pretty the city is, and the fact that it's a good mix between London, which is a very bustling, fast-moving city, and a smaller town or a more quiet town. So Bristol's a good in-between balance. Just to get some context of where I was at ISKL, so I did the IB Diploma program. I did HL Lit, Psychology, Economics, and then SL Bio, Math, and Chinese, just for context. And then I was on the badminton team for a while through high school. I did Tri-M. I was also running my own club, which looked at fundraising for elephants in the Southeast Asia region, and also Science for Kids, which I'm hoping is still up and running, but it's volunteering with kids who come in and use ISKL facilities, and we get to teach them science and connect over science. So that's a bit about me. Now I'm going to talk about the course, and this is strictly for the University of Bristol, because I know that a lot of universities across the UK run their program a little differently. So this is a 3-year undergraduate course, which means that by the time we hit December, I'll be halfway through. Yay. So in terms of the modules that we take in first year, all 6 of the modules that we take are completely compulsory. So these are 2 public law modules, which are constitutional rights and law and state. Then we have an introduction course, which is called law and action. And then we also have tort, contract, and criminal. So that should make 6. And then the second year, I've got 3 compulsory subjects, which are EU law, jurisprudence, and land law. And then I got to pick 3 optional modules. So I chose intellectual property law, family law, and company law. And then in the third year, there's only 1 compulsory, which I believe is equity and trusts. And then you get to pick the rest of the modules that you take for that year. And you're given the option of doing a dissertation, which is a 10,000 word research paper, or a final year research project, which is just a bit shorter. In terms of course structure that is implemented throughout the year, I'm going to show you a picture on the next slide, which I think explains it a bit better. But we have 7 learning cycles for each module. So a cycle consists of 2 weeks, and I'll explain this with a picture of my calendar to make it a bit easier on the next slide. But overall, we have 7 learning cycles. So there's 7 units, I guess, that we cover throughout the year for each of my subjects. And we also have consolidation cycles where we go in for a lecture and they help to consolidate all of the information that we've covered throughout the course of the year. In terms of assessments, so we have formatives, which occur in the first semester. So between the November to January period, they'll release formatives. And the same as ISKL, formative assessments do not actually count. They're not mandatory assessments, but it's highly encouraged to complete them so that you've got some type of experience working with the exams that are enforced in the law school. And then summatives I have at the end of the year during the May examination period. And this can be coursework or timed assessment. So coursework, you're given roughly a month to complete what is essentially a research, like a short research paper. And then timed assessments are the same as exams. Last year they were online. I'm hoping they're online again this year, but we'll see. Cross fingers. But yeah, that's what the course kind of looks like overall. And so this is a picture of my calendar. So on the top, we have week 1, and the bottom, we have week 2. So what happens is each learning cycle consists of 2 weeks. So across the 2 weeks, you get 6 lectures and 6 seminars. So if you're looking at the calendar right now, all of the shorter 1-hour blocks are lectures, and all of the longer 2-hour blocks, or the ones that say group something, are seminars. So in lectures, it's everyone in the law cohort who go in and sit in a big hall, and they speak to you about, maybe introduce the topic for that learning cycle specifically. And then in the seminars, they work on what you've read throughout the course of the learning cycle. They ask you questions, you're asked to contribute in discussions, and the tutor also gives you a lot of guidance on the content. So it's more one-on-one, also because it is a smaller group. So most of my seminars are between 10 to 15 people, and you get to know these people a lot more than you do maybe in a lecture environment. But you'll see in week 1 that I've got 4 lectures and then 2 seminars, and then Wednesday is free to give us a break, I guess. And then week 2, I've got 4 seminars and 1 lecture, and then Friday free. So that's what a learning cycle looks like. I'm not sure if other universities implement the same kind of structure, but what it helps me to do is plan out my workload and figure out how to study and how to balance that with society stuff, or social engagements, etc. So now I'm going to look at transitioning to university and kind of the pros and cons of the IB that I have felt personally. So the first thing I wanted to talk about, which is a bit random, are the culture shocks. And I thought, coming from an international school and an international background, that culture shocks wouldn't impact me as much And to be honest, it hasn't. Sorry. But there's like little things that surprised me about coming and living in the UK. So for example, I don't know if they do this in Malaysia, but I don't remember them doing this. The Domino's here will give you a free garlic mayo dip to like dip your pizza in. And I didn't know that was a thing. And I think it's very life-changing. So if you come to the UK, please try that out. They also do like barbecue-based pizza, which I don't think is a big thing in Malaysia, but okay, that one I would encourage less, but you can try it. It's something new to try. And then in bigger ways, and this is something to do with like drugs and alcohol. And I know in ISKL, they like to spread awareness about the effects of drugs and alcohol and really educate everyone on this. But at least in the UK, I think the drug and alcohol culture is very normalized. So a lot of my friends smoke, a lot of my friends vape, a lot of my friends drink. And it's something that I wasn't really prepared for in my head, even though I knew that existed out in the world. So that's kind of like something maybe mentally prepare yourself for. It's not like there's peer pressure to do any of this, but it's more just being aware and like seeing this happen in real life that kind of shocked me when I came here. In terms of settling into university, first year, I didn't feel homesickness as much until the end of the academic year, mostly because there's so many things going on and so many things to get used to and a lot of new people to meet that homesickness was like pushed to the side. So I didn't really feel it as much. Plus, I'm lucky in the sense that my parents and my family and we call at very scheduled times throughout the week. So I know that I'm going to be seeing them at least twice a week, if not more, if I want to text them on WhatsApp or just FaceTime for anything. Like if I want to know whether or not I'm going to give myself food poisoning, I'll like text my mom and be like, is this okay to eat? Accommodation wise, I got really lucky. So I stayed in university accommodation. It was an ensuite room, so I got my own room and my own bathroom, but I shared a kitchen with 4 other people. I really liked my first year accommodation, but I know there's lots of different horror stories. And in terms of advice, at least for me, my personal preference is to go for an ensuite room over having a catered accommodation. And I think what you'll find, at least in Bristol, is that a lot of the accommodation is self-catered, which means you cook for yourself. So I think if you were able to have more of a choice, go for your own bathroom, because sometimes the bathroom situation gets a bit messy and you end up sharing with like 15 to 20 people, even though someone else cooks for you. In terms of society and friends, I think this is the key way that I like settled in so quickly. So I got very close to my flatmates from first year, and that like set me up well to make friends, because I got to be friends with their friend group, and also through society. So I'm in the University of Bristol Law Club, so I meet a lot of fellow law students who are in the same year as me, in the year above, in the year below. And then I'm also part of a few like Malaysian, Singaporean, Asian societies, and joining those social events really helps me to mingle and meet new people and participate and kind of network and get to know everyone. And it really helps, especially with the cultural societies, knowing that there are other international students and there are other people in the same city as you who relate to like the feeling of homesickness or like missing certain types of food, which helps settling in. And then in terms of academics, I know that IB makes you take like math, like a science subject, etc., which is good because it builds you into a well-rounded student. However, in university, when you have the choice and you can pick specifically what type of course you're doing, it's really nice because everything I'm learning about, I'm interested in, and everything, like it's easier for me to engage. It's easier for me to have opinions and discussions on it because I have selected law as my subject of choice. So IB impacts. In terms of advantages, a big advantage is time management. In high school, when doing the IB, I was juggling a lot of different responsibilities, and it's the same in university, if not more. So having like a good organization system and knowing how you like to structure your time from doing the IB transferred really well to university. So now I know like I work best in the morning, or I can only work up to a certain period at night. So I'm not going to be the person that like works from the evening to later at night. I have to start earlier in the day. And I know that I need to have my physical to-do list so I can see what is going on, and Google Calendar so I can see like what exactly I'm doing that day. Second, I think the IB, especially English Lit, has taught me how to write an essay and like how to structure it in a way that clearly demonstrates your argument, as this is one of the forms of assessments in law school, is that you have to critically analyze a lot of different aspects of the law, and knowing how to do like an introduction, body paragraph 1, 2, 3, and then a conclusion, and then how to structure each body paragraph to demonstrate your argument well. That's something that I took away from the IB. Also, this one's a bit weird, but I find that I can relate a lot of the course like content that I did in the IB to what people are doing in university now. And that's something that I find a lot of other people maybe who do like economics or science degrees in university, IB has translated really well in terms of content. So the first year was more smooth for them because they had the content which they got from the IB, which maybe people who studied in the UK local or like in other countries didn't get. But that is part of my disadvantage. I didn't do IB law. There's no IB law subject, which means that I didn't have like the background that maybe like a individual like doing science at university has. So it makes it difficult. It means that I'm taking in all new content. And then again, all new types of assessments and study methods, because I can't really mind map things the same way I did with like bio concepts I did in the IB. And they introduce a new type of assessment. It's called a problem question. You're given facts of a case and you have to apply the law and identify the key legal issues and break it down. And it sounds easy, but it's a lot harder because you have to incorporate as much critical analysis as possible while remaining relevant to giving advice to your hypothetical client. But yeah, so overall, key advantages: time management, knowing how to write essays, like knowing how I like to study. And then disadvantages would be in terms of law, I didn't have background content, and then there's still new things to learn at university. So in general, here are all the things that I have to juggle, which is a bit daunting. So I have to figure out finances. I have to take care of myself. In Bristol, at least, the housing market is very saturated. So it means that by January of your first year, if you don't have a house, you're going to struggle. So you need to get on that very quickly because there's so many students and Bristol is very limited in terms of housing. So the recommendation is that you get a house at least by late November, early December and secure that, which is very difficult because it's hard to know who to live with and like where to live and what your requirements are and how much you want to pay. And that links back to budgeting. And then also job applications, balancing social life with academic workload, and then trying to take advantage of the fact that you are overseas and you get to experience all new opportunities and a whole new culture. So in terms of budgeting, I like to use an Excel spreadsheet to look at overall, like across the year, what I'm doing, and also an app. So I use Spendy to just track my transactions for the month. Just makes it easier for me. And then doing the laundry, the cooking, the grocery shopping, the cleaning, it's just something that you have to do. I don't know how, like, I don't have advice for that other than maybe with the laundry, if you live in halls, go either early in the morning or late at night when less people are using the machine. So you know that you've at least got a machine to use and you're not sitting there like waiting for 20 minutes for someone's cycle to finish. House hunting, again, start early. That's the biggest piece of advice. And then in terms of job applications, I will get onto that in the next slide, I think. Social life and academics, again, just have a good organization system. Know that you are able to say no to social engagements. Like if someone says, oh, do you want to go for a drink? Whether that be alcoholic or non-alcoholic, you can say no if you're too busy with your work. And people will understand, especially if you say you're a law student. A lot of people think that's like, I don't know, like a very big thing. But I think a lot of other degrees like know that, oh, their own academics, like they need to keep on top of it. And then exploring a new city, go traveling with your friends, go try new foods, try new restaurants. It's part of the whole learning process, and you should take advantage of the fact that you're already in the UK or in Europe or in the US or wherever you choose to go, and travel and like have new experiences. One of the weird new experiences I have was like trying garlic mayo dip with pizza, and then also taking the train by myself for the first time with a suitcase and like navigating the train station and going from one end of the UK to the other. Very interesting experience. So career advice. In the UK, there's 2 ways to qualify to become an official lawyer. So the first route is a solicitor. These types of lawyers do not go to court. They work in an office. Well, barristers work in an office as well, but their work focuses more on like client advice and non-contentious work. So it means that they don't go to court. Barristers do go to court and work typically independently and have their own firms, where solicitors work for like a bigger company. Obviously, the route to qualification depends on where you are. I've just given you the UK qualification route. I think someone asked a question about the Malaysian qualification route, which I will try and answer later. But if you're trying to qualify in Singapore, Australia, Malaysia, the UK, like they all have different routes. So you kind of have to do your own research and be aware going into maybe first year, kind of what you want to end up doing. So as I said at the beginning, I want to become a solicitor or qualify as a solicitor. So my route for this is first year, open days and insight schemes. Second year would be vacation schemes, which are like longer internship programs. And then hopefully off the back of that, I secure a training contract, which allows me to meet the UK requirement for 2 years qualifying work experience. And then in between the year where I graduate university and start the training contract, I will be doing the first exam or the first part of the SQE, which is basically the solicitor's qualifying examination. It's like the same thing as like the bar equivalent, which is more well known, I think. But yeah, in terms of advice, I'd say definitely sign up for open days in your first year and your second year. Applications are very straightforward for these. Also go to the law fairs if your university is holding law fairs, or there's a lot of virtual law fairs now. I attended one a couple of weeks ago run by Legal Cheek. Also try your best to apply for first year insight schemes. Even if you do not get onto any schemes, I didn't. I got onto 3 open days instead. It's a really good chance for you to know kind of what the application process is like, how rigorous it is, how demanding it is, and it helps set you up for second year once you have to go for your vacation scheme applications. So I'd say try, even if you don't think that you have a chance. You never know, and it's still a good learning opportunity. And then also take advantage of online resources, especially for law, because it's such a competitive career and field. You have so many resources online. So Vantage is really good. They have a lot of online events with the firms that allow you to gain greater insight into the firm itself and also learn about like broader legal topics. Legal Cheek, as I said, runs law fairs. They also provide really good summaries of what the firms are doing and like really big transactions that the top firms are handling. And then Bright Network kind of runs the same way as Legal Cheek. So yeah, that's all I have in terms of like formal advice. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen now. So I've got the list of questions that some of you have pre-submitted that I'm gonna try and answer really quickly. So first, what do you have to do once you're back in Malaysia to get your license? So as I said, I'm hoping to get my license in the UK. And if I qualify as a solicitor in the UK, I can still practice in Malaysia. However, I do know that in Malaysia, there is the bar that you can take, the Malaysian bar, and also the CLP. These are notoriously difficult to pass because there is a limited number of lawyers that they will pass per year, no matter like how good your score is. So for example, if everyone did really well that year for the CLP, they're still only going to pass a certain percentage. So it makes it a little bit more difficult. But yeah, so once you go in for your CLP or your bar, you then do a pupillage with a Malaysian firm for, I think it's about 9 months. And then after that, I think you are able to formally apply to the bar and qualify in Malaysia. In the UK, it's a little different. There's the barrister route and the SQ route. And I think depending on what you want to do your own research, especially now that things have changed very recently for both of the routes and how you qualify in the UK. The next question, what do law schools look for in an applicant? I think the one thing that a lot of universities said when I applied is that you don't have to have any like work experience necessarily, that they're not looking for that. They're looking for more that you're motivated to learn law, why you want to do law, kind of if you know like what in the future you want to do, it shows that you're actually like attached to the subject a little bit more. And kind of like what interests you specifically about the law program, maybe at the university. You can try and gear it a little bit more towards that. If you've read any books or materials or watched movies or documentaries relating to law and the legal world, yeah, that all those kind of things, like maybe just demonstrate that you've got good time management, you're able to analyze and read and write well. And also, with some of the universities in the UK, they require you to take the LNAT, which is like a legal aptitude test. So again, prep well for this. You can get a lot of good practice books in Kinokuniya and just practice writing essays and keeping up with the news. I like to listen to the Financial Times on Spotify every morning because it's a good way to like give yourself a brief outline of what's going on in the like financial and commercial world. But you can just skim through like BBC headlines and just kind of pick out like, oh, I know what's going on, just in case they release any essay titles on the LNAT that are like relevant to what's going on in the world right now. What social sciences do you study in law? I'm not entirely sure what this question means. So if you did submit it, can you please like clarify in the chat? But I think I'm going to interpret it as what kind of social subjects am I incorporating into law now? I think English Lit really helped me, which is technically not a social science, but it really helped me, like, as I said before, know how to write essays and kind of get used to the amount of reading that you have to do in law school. Just as a heads up, it's about 11 hours of prep for each subject. So if you think about that over the course of 2 weeks, it's about 66 hours of like videos, academic articles, textbook readings, cases, legislation. I think sometimes there's a bit of like economics brought into it, a little bit, especially if you do modules like company law or commercial law, that require you to think about what like a company looks like, how it functions. Maybe that has to do with economics a little bit. But other than that, I think law is a brand new subject. It makes it really exciting and really hard at the same time. What has prepared you for studying law at Bristol? Some of it's the IB, some of it's I just went into it. I was not very prepared. The first week we thought we were gonna get like, oh, freshers week, it's like orientation week. we were immediately loaded on with work for the first week. So it's kind of like once you enter, you start. I think what helps is knowing that there are like 300 to 400 other people in the same year as you doing the exact same thing, and everyone is struggling. So you can all struggle together in the library. You can all be confused about the same legal concepts, or you can all hate the same subjects. I remember in first year, a lot of people didn't like law and state because it just didn't make sense and the readings were really long and dry. But over the course of the year, it got better. Once you participate in like seminar discussions and things, people hate the subject less, I guess, and like know how to engage with the material a little bit more. What other courses are closely linked and that you were considering? You can do criminology, at least at Bristol, which I think is a very interesting subject. Bristol also offers a law with like a language, which is a 4-year course, or law with a study abroad option. Sorry, which is very interesting as well. I was also considering economics and finance or accounting. I'm not very good at math, so that wouldn't have gone well at all. And also psychology, I was also considering in like business. So anything in that field, I guess, is kind of related. But with qualifying as a lawyer in the UK, what's great about it is that you don't have to do a law degree at undergraduate level to qualify. So I know a lot of people who are doing psychology or history who want to qualify in the UK, and they'll just do like a conversion course. So how is the IB similar to university? I think I touched on this in my presentation. It's similar in terms of like how you handle workload, but other than that, not very similar, at least for law. And which IB courses are most implemented when studying law? So basically English literature and maybe history. I know a lot of people say history, and maybe a bit of economics. At least that's in my opinion. But I know like some people who relate biology to law because of how much reading you do and like how much like memorization, and also maybe a bit of psychology, because I know for IB Psych we handled a lot of different cases. So like practicing like how to read cases and extracting key details from cases that apply to the concept.
So just to wrap it up, I want to thank you so much for such a thorough and concise presentation. I think you crammed a lot into our 25 minutes. There's so much good information here that I know even the students who weren't able to attend or who had to jump out a little bit early will be able to go back and view the recording. So thank you so much for waking up so early and for putting together such a wonderful presentation. And we wish you the best of luck with your last year and a half of law school, and can't wait to hear what your next steps are after that. Ms. Cook, you want to say anything?
I just want to say thank you, Megan. That was awesome. I actually learned a lot, and it's just wonderful to see you and see you thriving. And I just really appreciate that you spent some time with us today to give back to ISKL.
Thank you so much for having me. It was great.